What's happening? Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time. Hope everybody had a great weekend. Happy to have you guys back and ready to rock. Was at Titans practice today. Not a very fast-paced practice, but ahead of joint work with the Buccaneers, there was still some things to discuss. Certainly, kind of where we are in the backup quarterback competition after Thursday night. We haven't had, I guess, the chance, you and me. I know I did it on the radio show on Friday, but for the primetime show, we haven't had a chance to talk about Malik Willis yet. I was obviously in Baltimore. You guys were there with me on Thursday afternoon. Was there to watch the game, and there were a lot of observations that were there to be had. But we talked to Todd Downing about the backup quarterback spot today at practice. We'll get into where you feel better or worse about the depth chart after Thursday night, and then This Is a Free Site, the best thing that I saw on the internet this weekend. Got a lot of good stuff for you, and happy to have you in for the evening. Before we get started, need you guys to share the show on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. You know the drill. If you're on Twitter, please retweet the show. That's in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. If you are on Facebook Live, you can share not a public. That is how your Facebook friends get involved. A lot of Facebook opinions flying around on Malik Willis, to be certain. YouTube, Twitch, subscribe to the channel. If you're already subscribed to the channel, throw a like on the video. Tell a friend. Do what you need to do to have more people come hang out with us each and every Sunday through Thursday night when we do this live stream broadcast. Okay, welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time on a Sunday night. If you're new, I'm your host, Buck Rising, and I'm proud as always to be presented to you by our friends at Superbook Sports. We, of course, broadcast from the Superbook Sports studio. You can bring Vegas to the palm of your hand in the Superbook Sports app. Download it today, whether you're an Android or Apple user. Superbook will match your first bet up to $1,000. Just download that app today. The Ashton Real Estate Group of RE/MAX Advantage. That's where you go for the Intel Edge. You want the Intel on Malik Willis and Logan Woodside. We talked to Todd Downing about that today. In the same way that we've got quarterback intel for you, Gary Ashton has real estate intel for you at GaryAshton.com. And of course, Two Rivers Ford, where you can go, and the car buying process will always be a breeze. Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet. You can build your next Ford at Two Rivers Ford today. So, coming back from Baltimore and watching that game and seeing all the opinions that were flying around and being in Mike Vrabel's press conference where, a lot of people had a bad reaction to his explanation about the timing when they sat Malik Willis in that game. A lot of opinions about Logan Woodside and the interceptions that he threw. I think you have to take each interception in and of itself. The second one, far more forgivable than the first, but still backup quarterback competition, and it really ramped up the pressure. I think because you guys saw it for the first time, and you saw an exciting new player who's got a lot of potential, who's got a lot of things to clean up, but can do things athletically that Logan Woodside can't do, but a situation where the coaching staff is still more comfortable with the guy who they know can execute their offense, but has to protect the football better. That's no small thing. So with all of this, looking around and kind of taking a view of what the backup quarterback situation is now, how much of it has actually changed? That was the kind of conversation that we had with Todd Downing today, and you'll hear a portion of that later on. But I want to start with your Two Rivers Ford take as we get things rolling on another week of primetime shows. Let me know in the comment section on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch. How likely do you think it is that the Titans carry three quarterbacks when this season starts? Still got 2 preseason games to go. Of course, Tampa Bay is going to be in the building Wednesday and Thursday of this week, and we'll be out there doing the radio show. I don't know if they're going to have that open to like season ticket holders and things like that, but I hope to see a lot of you guys out there. I saw a couple of y'all on Saturday. It was good to kind of catch up. But how likely do you think it is that the Titans carry three quarterbacks heading into the season? Now, I think that it is still, I still think it's a fair conversation to have because the Logan Woodside situation, I am underwhelmed with, but I've been underwhelmed with Logan Woodside for a long time now, and he sticks on the roster. It is likely things are trending right now. That would probably be the case. But we're going to get into it together, your Two Rivers Ford take. I want you to hear from Todd Downing, though, first and foremost, on the backup quarterback competition before we dive into, Malik specifically.
As the backup quarterback battle heats up, I guess what are you maybe specifically looking for from Malik and Logan to see kind of who ultimately comes out, as that top backup behind Ryan?
Yeah, ultimately, your backup quarterback needs to be somebody that can run the game plan on a moment's notice, right? And that means different things for those two players. There's certainly aspects of Malik's game that if he were playing for us, we'd try to amplify or augment. And there's certain things that Logan does very well that we would be able to augment as well. Consistency and dependability in their decision-making is critical. Putting the ball in harm's way, is something that a backup quarterback can't do. And we've got to make sure that we're doing everything we can, not only from a pocket ball security, but also throw location and decision-making. They got to be able to take care of that football and, keep the offense flowing as if Ryan were in there.
So that's Todd Downing talking about the backup quarterback competition. Your Two Rivers Ford take. How likely do you think it is that the Titans carry 3 QBs when the season starts? It is, of course, presented by Two Rivers Ford, where you go to have as easy as humanly possible an experience through the car buying process. There's a million different things that are hard to do right now. If you listen to the radio show on Friday, you know that flying right now is particularly hard to do. I had my first road experience with that. With so many things that are harder to do these days, Two Rivers Ford always makes it easy, no matter how it is that you like to shop. Whether you're interested in one of the vehicles that they have on the lot, certified pre-owned or new, Two Rivers Ford's non-commissioned sales staff can keep an eye out for you, whether you see something that you like and you want to know more about, or as new vehicles become available, they'll give you a call if they think something might work for your budget and your needs. Or you can do like I did. You can do the Built For You program and get your new Ford custom ordered, manufactured, and delivered right to your door. Two Rivers Ford always makes it simple. Check them out in Mount Juliet or online at tworiversford.com. So, looking at the backup quarterback situation, how likely do you think it is? I would say I'm inclined to think that on August the 14th, it is likely that there would be 3 quarterbacks. I think that Malik Willis can make significant strides. There's basically everything that we saw from Malik on Thursday night, and I talked about a little this on radio already, but I think it was the whole scouting report coming out of Liberty. You love the potential. The athletic gifts and arm talent specifically are there. He seemed to get more comfortable as the game went on, but also there was a lot of just kind of running around in the second quarter. Mike Vrabel took him out because they wanted him to throw the ball when receivers were open. It was his first time, I think, kind of seeing NFL open. The windows are much smaller. He was more likely to kind of tuck the ball and go. He can make plays. He can make plays even when he tucks the ball and takes off, but he also has to be able to take the easy completions or frankly just throw it away. He's got a lot of refinement. He's a day 2 pick in the NFL draft with legitimate first-round potential. And that was the entire scouting report on Malik Willis coming out of Liberty. Can he make up that ground in what? We're less than a month away from kickoff, by the way. Less than a month away from the Titans' home opener against the New York Giants. I'm very, very excited to get back into the road. Listen, after Thursday, I was feeling it. I never want to work that hard for a preseason game again, much less a road trip at night. I don't know who we pissed off to get 3 night preseason games, but that was trash getting out of M&T Bank Stadium at 1:30 in the morning and then catching a 6 a.m. flight that I almost missed because of TSA. But that's a conversation for another day. I look at the situation for the backup quarterbacks, and they trust Woodside. It's just definitive. It doesn't matter what you think. It doesn't matter what I think. It's that they trust Logan Woodside more at this point to execute what it is that they are going to ask him to do. Playmaking ability, clearly and obviously a plus. Athleticism, a plus. Arm talent, a plus with Malik. It's not that he doesn't have the better future as a quarterback in all likelihood, and certainly the higher ceiling. But there's still things that he's got to learn, and it's one preseason game. I think that when you watch, and I know the A to Z Sports Film Room did a really good job with this. We're certainly going to talk about it with Greg Cosell when we do the Install podcast on Wednesday, and we had Coach Mack of Titans Radio on the radio show on Friday to kind of go through this with us as well. And there's a lot to love. Now, the question is, if you cut Woodside, will he survive on the practice squad? I think I don't know where else he might land, because quarterbacks, able-bodied quarterbacks, and Woodside for, going on 4 years now has been an able-bodied quarterback. There's always going to be jobs for those dudes in some form or fashion. A team could scoop him up. Now, roster cuts are coming. I don't think he's on the first boat out. I think they kind of wait on that. Atlanta would be the only place that I would think, okay, the coaching staff would want him, but also they've got a quarterback situation that is very much entrenched with a draft pick and a veteran who they're going to ride it out with this year. Kind of similar to the Titans, except, a little more reformative. Marcus Mariota and Desmond Ridder are the quarterbacks in Atlanta. I don't know who there is. Josh Rosen a Falcon right now? No, I don't think Josh Rosen's a Falcon right now. He was a Falcon last year for a hot second. I don't know if there's another one. Atlanta would be the only other spot because the coaching staff has great familiarity with him that I think would straight pick him up. But I don't know that for the situation for Woodside, it's clear and obvious that somebody would take him. You can't put Malik on the practice squad. Obviously, somebody will scoop him up in a heartbeat. So he's still got to show you that he can do all the things that a quarterback needs to do, because if nothing else, Woodside knows how to check it down. And sometimes checking it down and playing a more reserved style of quarterback and making the plays less, looking for the big play less, right? It's not, and that sounds counterintuitive, I think, to a lot of people, and I understand why it would. Why wouldn't you want as many big plays as humanly possible? Of course you do. But for Malik, I think the thing, even as Woodside turned the ball over, the turnovers are not inconsequential. He needs to take better care of the football. He is not, what he looked like on Thursday night, he would probably look like that in an NFL game. That's the reality of the situation. But it's not like Malik played well enough to win that Baltimore game either. And that's without a defense actually scheming for him. What they need Malik to do is they need him to be able to do more of the things that the quarterback is going to be expected to execute. Understanding that he wants chunk plays down the field. That's all well and good. You don't have to take them. You don't have to look for them consistently. It leads to holding the ball. It leads to you not getting off your first read. If you're patting the ball and you're not good on your ball security, defender come up real quick, force a fumble, turnover. That's how you have a 23-10 result, turnovers. And it's not like Malik fumbled, but he almost threw an interception. And again, he played he was fun to watch. I enjoyed it, but I just, I'm looking at it and be like, okay, yeah, it makes sense to keep Woodside for now. So nothing about Thursday changed my opinion about the quarterback situation, other than I'm excited to see how Malik progresses. Woodside's going to be that. There's nothing about Woodside is changing. The question is, how much further can Malik get before the start of the season to a point where they say, okay, yeah, I'm good. I'm good with moving to the rookie who's clearly got a firm enough grasp of this to give us an opportunity to win. I think that's just kind of the worldview that you have to have about it. So yeah, likely right now. But Malik Willis, certainly there were some things that to like, and I'll have rather than me give you my analysis, I'll let his offensive coordinator do it.
Well, you got to see Malik in live game action. What's your take as far as like how he was able to process things, the operation, and pretty much everything else?
Yeah, I think there was some good and some room for improvement. I thought he showed timing and accuracy in some throws, and then there were a couple where I'm sure he wished he had it back, and pulled the trigger on a couple things. But overall, there was growth. He did a nice job running the line of scrimmage and huddle procedure and protection checks and things like that. So a lot of good, and then obviously some stuff that we got to fine tune.
Todd, you said earlier that he does a good job of not making the same mistake twice. Are you still seeing that, and is that helping him maybe progress as he works through camp?
Yeah, I think he works hard to improve on the things that we challenge him with, and I think practice has shown that. He's had some really good, kind of corrections in practice. And so it's been fun to watch that process with him and to work through that with him. He's such a hard worker and a high character guy that, I'm excited about the trajectory he's on.
Is the issue kind of just trusting what he sees yet? Is that pretty common for a guy in his first year?
Yeah, I would say that that's very common for a young quarterback, particularly if the offense that you're in the pros is, drastically different than the offense you were in college. And so some of these are the first live reps he's seeing of these types of concepts. So naturally there's going to be, a learning curve there. And I think that Malik's working really hard to, kind of gain that confidence in seeing things clearly and throwing with timing.
He's talked about the matching the footwork. Sometimes he's like, I see it, I process it, but then the feet aren't, synchronized, I guess. What's that process like from your perspective, and how has that progressed like in camp?
Yeah, he is a very gifted thrower and has great ball speed, and I think he throws an accurate ball. And I think that there are probably times that he got away with some things collegiately that he's not going to be able to get away with in the pros, or maybe the window's a little tighter than it was in college. And so tying his feet to his progressions and helping the timing there and the decision making is going to be a major step in the process for him. I think he's made strides there, and I think he's continuing to work on that stuff, and I think that he's realizing he can trust that process.
So that was Todd Downing, a good chunk of Todd Downing talking about Malik Willis today. James Henderson says, if this is the worst Willis looks, then we are going to be in a good place with some experience and hard work. Well, I think just playing devil's advocate, I don't know that's the worst that he's going to look. He's going to make some ugly turnovers at some point. He's going to, when defenses actually scheme, because again, we're talking about what can he do ahead of the regular season. Training camp, there's still time, but what can he do ahead of the regular season for them to put him in a position where they say, okay, we trust you to do this well enough. He is going to probably have moments where he looks worse than he did on Thursday night. And again, that's okay. Hell, it could happen against the Bucs or the Cardinals and kind of, see some different things when defenses game plan for him, when there is more emphasis, when he's playing against a higher caliber of competition. Again, those are the 2s and 3s for everybody else. It's not to say that there weren't good things, but I also think that you have to be kind of well-rounded in your worldview on this guy at this point to be able to kind of get a baseline and get a good sense of, okay, why is the coaching staff doing things the way that they're doing? Well, there's good reasons for it, even as you're amped, you're excited as hell about the prospect of what this guy can give you and a variety of different ways that it can make your offense better. Who's to say that Malik Willis in a backfield with Derrick Henry, tight ends like Chig, and kind of getting a little more creative with the backfield packages that make an offense harder to defend, like Baltimore, for example. Can you do different things with Willis that could, say, prolong Derrick Henry's career? That's the kind of excitement I think that's building right now. But there's still a lot more that has to happen with all this. And I think, I think it's on the right trajectory. There's been nothing, we haven't seen anything like discernibly awful. It's too early to say, okay, well, he's clearly not learning this, or he's clearly not getting that, or he's not able to make this kind of a throw, or maybe he's struggling to read things, or, maybe Maybe the operations of it aren't clean just yet. Like, again, it's such granular football level stuff that he needs to get a grip on, just get comfortable with before they can say, okay, Woodside kick rocks. Let's talk about positions that you feel better about, maybe situations you feel worse about after the preseason game, depth, and what you think of the Titans roster. Because what kind of struck me, and I'll explain this in a little more detail here in just a second. What kind of struck me was the team that was in Baltimore was basically a whole new Titans roster and Brett Kern. It was because they didn't travel, I think 23 total. They didn't play 25 guys. I know 23 for sure didn't travel. So there was a third of the roster basically that wasn't in Baltimore. And so you were watching a whole different team plus Brett Kern. So where did you kind of feel better, or what was your main takeaways about the Titans' depth coming out of that first preseason game? In the comment section on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch, did you feel better or worse about their roster depth after the preseason loss to Baltimore? We'll talk about this together. You will hear from some necessary parties here in just a second, right after I tell you about our friends at Superbook Sports. Superbook Sports not only is the studio sponsor for Prime Time and the 615 Sessions podcast, but they're also the newest sports book to go live in the state of Tennessee. They have so many different things to get you in on the action. You don't have to go to the game to have fun getting involved with football. Superbook Sports has lines on every NFL game already. Already in preseason week 2, you can bet the Titans and the Jags in week 18. There are lines for every regular season game across the NFL. They also take wagers on every major sport, so you can bring Vegas to the palm of your hand. And if you do use the Superbook Sports app, they will match your first bet up to $1,000, whether it wins or loses. For terms and conditions, go to superbook.com. If you have a gambling problem, call the Tennessee Red Line, 1-800-889-9789. So, where do you feel better or worse, or do you feel better or worse about the roster depth that the Titans displayed on Thursday night? I think there's a variety of different places that you have to look. Offensive line, quarterback, certainly. Defensive backs. I thought they kind of got pushed around up front on that side of the ball a little bit. I thought Weaver had some nice snaps. Saw some good snaps from guys like Naquan Jones. But largely, I thought Baltimore kind of handled them a little bit. And there was some sloppiness that I think caused turnovers, obviously put them in bad positions. You had a situation where you just didn't hold the edge well enough or kind of seal the edge well enough on that first touchdown run that I think it was Mike Davis had for the Ravens. You had a situation where Terry Godwin had I think it was a 54-yard kick return that was negated by a Justin Lawler penalty, brought it back even further. Like, there's a lot of different. Number 85, Shamar. What was 85's name? I've got my handy dandy recap sheet here with me. Shamar Bridges, who just went up and mossed all manner of Titans defensive backs. And really, the four, or rather the three Ravens quarterbacks, Huntley, Brown, and Hundley. They have Huntley and Hundley. They all three really kind of played well. I really enjoyed watching the Ravens quarterback depth. So, do you feel better? Do you feel worse about the situation for the Titans depth-wise? Stacey Wills feels better. Pass coverage was awful. There were some good snaps that I saw, like Caleb Farley have. I saw Christian Fulton get stiff-armed once, which, there's only so many things that you're going to be able to do about the angle situation there, although tackling at corner is critical as far as limiting those explosive plays. Dago said he wanted to see Fulton be more locked down. I mean, I like Christian Fulton. I just want to see a larger sample size of him playing corner at a high level before I make any, sweeping indictments about Christian Fulton and how good he actually is. Buck, is Chris Jackson still in Baltimore, or did they let him come back with the team? So yes, he did not have a great night. He also got hurt. So we hope that Chris Jackson is recovering. And he wasn't obviously at practice today. Elijah Molden was back at practice today, by the way. I talked to him for a little bit. You'll hear a segment of that on radio tomorrow. But looking at the situation for Chris Jackson, I still think that he is a worthwhile player to keep on, because if he's your fifth or sixth corner, then you're gravy, right? Now, if you can knock him off the roster for a guy like AJ Moore, swell. If not, then you know that he knows at least your defense. If the physical limitations or athletic limitations aren't what they're cracked up to be. Again, we know what Chris Jackson is. Chris Jackson is a 7th round pick that has been on the team for a couple of years now, and you feel okay about spot duty. You don't want to see extended work because there are moments when he gets exposed. And then, he can play lights out because he's a professional athlete, and any of those guys can get hot at any time. Remember, he was like the MVP for as well as they played without Derrick Henry, even if it was kind of clunky. Defensively, they played well in the Sunday Night Football game without Derrick Henry. But remember that the MVP of that game was almost Chris Jackson. Simmons, did Simmons have 3 sacks? Simmons had 2 sacks for sure. And obviously they made plays to get turnovers against Matt Stafford. But like Chris Jackson played really well in LA and then had a terrible outing the next week. I can't remember against who. My memory is not that sharp. But anyway, you kind of understand what you have at this point. Looking at the my biggest focus depth-wise is offensive line. It isn't looking good. Yeah, I want to talk to Greg Cosell about Radens on Wednesday. And I think you'll start to see cuts. Like, you'll start to see guys getting cut. I think they have to get rid of 5 dudes by the end of the week, or maybe like that's right after the Tampa game. I will get my NFL calendar and I'll be able to tell you more definitively, because I know cuts are coming within the next probably 7 days, 7 or 8 days at this point. So yeah, you'll probably see some offensive line depth churn. And I didn't think that I wasn't overwhelmed with Radens. I thought that Petit Frere was okay. I didn't think it was anything like crazy. Thought there was some good stuff, and there's clearly some stuff that they need to clean up, which is what you hear from coaches on time. But yeah, I mean, it was legitimate. There were some nice run block executions. I think he looks super athletic, but I think you probably see some, bottom of the roster churn at offensive line and kind of see where that all fits out. I thought Corey Levin had some nice snaps. I felt pretty good about that. Brewer as the backup center made me feel good about, okay, if Ben does have to miss some time, at least that Brewer is comfortable there. It's not easy to be comfortable at center. And I think that Levin would also be, I think Levin is also personally more comfortable at guard. And I think that kind of showed, just because it's a pain in the ass to snap the ball. But anyway, tackle, I don't think there's a resolution at tackle. I don't think Dylan Radens ends up being the starting right tackle, though. I really don't. We'll see how the next week, 3 or 4 weeks play out before week 1. But yeah, I don't think Radens does it for me. So I think, largely the question is better or worse. For me to say push is fence sitting, but I think that I did not feel great about the way that their defense was taken advantage of. Coverage wise, they just got, out physicaled a couple of times. There were some breakdowns technique wise that caused some plays that you would ideally not to see. And I think, guys like Weaver showed you some stuff and then also showed you where they're still needing improvement. So on the whole, like, probably a little worse, maybe just because it was the first game action for some dudes. But I think that it'll get better, and I feel pretty good about their depth on the whole. We'll see though about wide receiver, which is something that we asked Mike Vrabel about at practice on Saturday.
Your wide receiver room, the competition from the top to the bottom. What are you? It feels like there's that you're getting exactly what you like out of that room?
Yeah,
What are you seeing
I mean,
from
I
them?
think that the competition has been good. I think the guys that are working inside, Kyle and Mason, we've got, Terry's working in there a little bit. Outside, Racy's been doing some good things, obviously, Nick and Woods, and it has been, Dez has shown up. Dez showed up today, and, it's just, Traylon is continuing to improve and watch the film and went through that and tried to focus on some things today. So, we'll see what it looks like.
So that was Mike Vrabel on Saturday. Mike did not speak today. We talked to Todd Downing and Shane Bowen and Craig Aukerman before and after practice today. But the wide receiver competition, I think, is something that's kind of interesting with Racy, with Dez. Who ends up on the practice squad? Is Mason Kinsey worth keeping on the practice squad again? As Kyle Phillips' depth, because that job is clearly one. Can Terry Godwin make any kind of a push, given a little bit of versatility on special teams and on offense? These are all the kind of questions that we're going to see play out in the next couple of weeks. So let's do, this is a free site, the best thing that I saw on the internet this weekend. And the question is simple. How old were you the first time that you attended a live sporting event? What age were you? Were you, were you a small child? Do you remember it? Have your parents been taking you to games, or did your parents take you to games at a very, very young age? Are you somebody like me who wasn't, you didn't go to sporting events a ton growing up because my family didn't really care about it? Maybe you came to sports a little later. How old were you the first time that you attended a live sporting event? Give me your answer on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. We'll get to this is a free site here in just a second, right after I remind you about the place that you go for the Intel Edge. We gave you the quarterback Intel Edge. Gary Ashton can give you the Intel Edge to succeed in this red-hot Nashville real estate market. Intel that helps you sell your home without any showings or staging. Intel that helps you find your next one when you sell your current one in this red-hot Nashville real estate market. And the Intel to win the buyer battle and cash in on your home equity right now. Gary Ashton and his team will walk you through the process from start to finish and help you maximize your advantages with an incredibly important part of your life. Real estate is an incredibly important part of your life. If you are somebody who has dabbled before, Gary Ashton and his team will make sure that you are confident and secure and getting the best possible intel before you make your decision. GaryAshton.com is where you go. So, how old were you the first time that you went to a professional sporting event? Live 15 for the Pelican 3 Reds World Series against the Oakland A's. A World Series game is your first live sporting event. That is a high expectation. Steven, 1986, was 10 years old when he went to see Peyton Manning play at Tennessee. Preston Miles was 18. 6 at the Clinic Bowl. I'm unfamiliar. Puka says, ask Wyatt. I will do that. I don't know what the Clinic Bowl is. 3 months old, car racing in Laguna Seca. I forgive me if I butchered that. What kind of car racing? Like NASCAR, IndyCar, those little monster truck things that they ran around here during the Music City Grand Prix. A lot of fun stuff. Producer Reed sent me a video today that made me think of the first time that I attended a sporting event and had no idea that what was going on. It kind of reminded me of the first experience that I had too.
You look like you're here with a bunch of friends. Are these all your friends?
No.
No?
No.
Okay, well then why are you here? Do you like Chicago Sky? It looks like you do.
I have never heard of this group. I have never heard of this.
You've never heard of Sky basketball, the women's team?
No.
You know they won the championship, right?
No.
You didn't know that? Well, now you do.
No, I do, but I still don't really know anything else.
All right, do you know who the Sky is playing today?
No.
What are you looking forward to today with this group?
The buffet.
We should get you on the court today, huh?
Okay.
Let me see how you shoot your threes.
I don't shoot threes.
It's just, it cracked me up. I could watch that clip 17 times. What's your favorite part? The buffet. He sounds like me in the press box, except no more press box food reviews. 200 by Super Bowl. Looking at it made me laugh. So I think I was pretty young because I know I went to like a Rays Yankees game because I had family that lived in Tampa. I can't remember exactly how old, probably like 5 or 6 or something like that. Why is that lady coming after that kid so hard, though? I think they're all fair questions. Like, she's just asking general questions. Now maybe she could have cut it off and been like, okay, this kid has nothing going on here. Xavier Cohen says, I don't shoot threes. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, this man, he's just so what's the word that I'm looking for? Combative with every question that she asked him. Show me how you shoot your threes. I don't shoot threes. It made me laugh out loud. 12 says Charles Davis, not that Charles Davis, but this Charles Davis on Facebook says 12 Oilers against Baltimore in 1970 or 80. Dion says, gotta love that straightforward honesty. Hell, I don't even know who that team is. Well, apparently they are the and again, I don't follow women's basketball super closely. I certainly would enjoy one if it came to Nashville. I think that'd be fun to have a basketball team in town since Memphis has the Grizzlies. But yeah, I was not familiar. I was not familiar with who won the WNBA title this year, so I would have been in a similar position to that child. Anyway, that's going to do it for us tonight. Radio show. We're back out at training camp. Live from St. Thomas Sports Park tomorrow from 10 to 1. Robert Woods is going to be on the radio show for the first time since he's been on the team. So we'll look forward to chopping it up with Robert. Then if you guys have specific questions since I get a lot of players on the radio show, and if you guys, like, if I give you a heads up and you want a certain question asked of a player, you guys can DM those to me on Instagram if you want to. So if you've got questions in particular for Robert Woods, certainly send them to me. I'm always grateful for some kind of feedback. And if we end up asking it during the interview, we'll be sure to give you a heads up or give you a shout out rather. So that'll be fun. We also have Trevor Sikkema, and I'm going to see if Jimmy Wyatt can't stop by after practice, and we'll kind of go through the things that we saw before they take a day off and then have joint training camp practices with the Bucks on Wednesday and Thursday, which will be a great time. I'll talk to you on the radio show tomorrow. If not, I will see you at 8 p.m. or thereabouts Monday night on A to Z Sports Prime Time.